Okay, so I just got done watching the remake of The Grudge from Sam Raimi, and this movie is so underrated when it comes to the horror genre. Like, it is beyond terrifying to think about. Lady gets murdered by her husband. Boy watches whole thing. The dad not only brutally murders her, but then proceeds to brutally murder his kid and the cat. Why the cat? I never understand the cat. But then I realized, oh, this is from a whole like a whole genre of Grudge movies, which I've been watching in my free time, so I'll probably be making a video on that too. But like, it is so unbelievably good that I find it really hard to believe that no one ever talks about it. So basically, this movie starts off with, or is basically about this lady named Karen, who's played by fucking Buffy of all things, Sarah Michelle Gellar, I think? Yeah. Also Daphne from the Scooby-Doo film, so that's interesting. So she went from being in the Scooby gang to fighting off a demon in a house. That's great. Um, so this movie is about her basically living in Japan with her boyfriend, and she works at a agency for, I'm guessing, nannies and stuff like that for, like, older folk. And she gets called in by Sam Raimi's brother, I think his name is Alex, to go over to this lady's house and watch her because her nanny mysteriously disappears. Now, I don't know about you, but I'd be double checking, trying to figure out why. Why did this lady disappear? But no one ever thinks of that. They just like completely gloss over that and they're just like, you know what? If you can survive a house, if you can survive inside that house for a couple days, you get a paycheck. It's like, "Really? You're gonna Five Nights at Freddy this? Okay, cool, yeah, I'll go ahead and do that." So she goes over to this house, and she realizes that there's really weird stuff going on here, like, to the point that she thinks she's going crazy. She's seen this little boy who looks like he hasn't had sleep in, like, 3 years, and a cat that won't stop knocking stuff over, and this lady who, for some reason, can walk sometimes, and then some reason, she's crawling around like she just broke both her ankles. Make it make sense. Anyway, so she starts going to research because she's like, okay, I've been seeing a lot of weird stuff. And then she comes face to face with this thing and it's completely fine. Like, not completely fine, but like she is not freaking out nearly as hard. Like, look at this scene. Now, I don't know about you, but that would freak me out. Like, I would be out of that house faster than Grudge goes back into the ceiling. Like, I'd be gone. I'd be Scooby Doo gone. So, anyway, as the movie progresses, it's clear that there's just really something wrong with this ghost. Like, why is she doing what she does? And she's always going back into the attic like she's a freaking trapdoor spider or something. Like, she comes out of the attic, grabs people, and then sucks them up like she's eating soup. It's just weird. Um, and by the way, her boyfriend is like oblivious to all this for some reason. He's barely in the movie. But then we find out, oh, there's actually been other people who've lived here beforehand. So the lady that she is watching, her son is this guy, and him and his wife also get into a tussle with this grudge. Now, this girl right here already doesn't like the fact that she's there to begin with. Apparently, she was promised something different. They moved over to Tokyo from America to basically start a new life because his job is just like, "Hey, you can do this, but like, can you go over here so you have more money?" And he's like, "Hell yeah, I will." He takes her to this place to help, I guess, because he has to watch his mom, but then proceeds to leave. I know it's a job, but like it's still weird. Um, so she's stuck with the mom, and the mom is weird. She's like looking at the ceiling and staring into nothing and having random ass conversations with herself in the middle of the night, apparently. Also leaving a mess like everywhere. Like this lady is not a clean person. I know they're trying to pass it off as like a dementia type situation, but I'd even be kind of confused as to why she's over here looking at the top of the ceiling, talking to something that's imaginary. Like, I'd be out of there so quickly, but then there wouldn't be a movie, I guess. So, anyway, flash forward a little bit. Guy comes back after the girl wanders off into a room because she sees a little boy, because that's exactly what you do. You want to just like, I don't know what it is about horror movies, but they see a child go into a door. Why? You see a child go into a room and you ignore it. You walk out of there. You don't go in. Why would you do that? Either way. So after a weird cutscene where she walks into the room and you hear a weird meow noise that sounds like the cat is getting really, really annoyed at this point with having to constantly meow every single time the kid is around. He comes back and he's just like, oh, like, where's my wife? Like, she was supposed to be here. Goes over to his mom, and she's, of course, of no help because she just stares into the freaking wall like she's watching a documentary. So he goes up the steps and he's like, okay, let me go try to see if I can find her. Goes into the room and realizes, oh, she's laying on the bed in the dark. Light switch doesn't work, by the way, so why the hell are you going in there? Tries to communicate with her, and she's over here freaking laying down on the bed like she's freaking Dracula or some whatever. She basically acts like she's paralyzed, and I don't know about you, but I would be like, wait, what? Like, what's going on? So after he realizes that she's not even moving at this point, he decides that he's going to look around the room a little bit because he starts hearing that cat meow. And let's face it, in a Grudge movie, if you hear a cat meow, you better get your happy ass out of there because shit's about to go sideways. Anyway, so he basically sits there for a second and he starts like messing around with the lamp and some stuff, and he sees the kid. Now, for me, I would see the kid and be like, okay, I'm out of here. Like, I don't know what to do. Like, this girl's obviously almost dead. I mean, I would want to save her, but also like, you're both like, like she literally dies in the bed. Like, she lets out a large croak like she's a Grudge herself, and then immediately passes the fuck out. Like, she's done. And then we obviously see him get murdered by the Invisible Woman because you don't see her because they're waiting for that reveal. Flash forward a little bit, and the guy who basically sent Karen to go do his bidding at this lady's house, he comes by and he's like trying to figure out why the lady is not talking either. Looks over, realizes that Karen's seen some stuff. Starts trying to slap some sense into her. That doesn't really help, so he, I guess, takes over for a little bit, calls the police. Police come by and they're like, okay, what's up? Like, we know this house. Like, why do we know this house? And then they start talking about like the murder and shit. Just for them to try to call the phone, because back then I guess you could press a button and then the phone would magically ring from the Netherlands or the Nether or whatever it's called. And they follow it to the attic where they realize, oh, there's bodies up here. Like, that's weird. By the way, the first victim I forgot to mention was when remember when I said that there was a person that they had up there first before they sent Karen out? Yeah, this is where it gets interesting. So she was the one that heard the scratching in the closet in the first place, walked over to the closet, and she got sucked up like the noodle. Remember that? I told you about that? Yeah. So we heard when she went up, we heard something like snapping. Turns out her jaw got snapped off, so that was lovely. So then they decide to go ahead and put out another investigation because like, okay, that's a lot of people going missing and or killed in the same house. We need to figure stuff out. Now, as I'm remembering, I'm also starting to forget a lot of sequences from this movie, so bear with me. It's going to come as I talk about it, so I might talk about stuff out of order, because honestly, the way the Grudge movie even works is everything's kind of out of order as it is. Like, you start with Karen, but then you flash back a couple of days, but then you flash forward a couple of days, and it's like watching an episode of Doctor Who. It's so weird. Either way, so after all of that happens, if I can remember what happens next, give me a second. I'm losing my train of thought. Oh, yeah, that's right. So Karen, after a while, starts realizing that because of the fact that she walked into that house, that she's been seeing the reflection of this lady and this boy everywhere. Like, she's been seeing this little black-eyed kid from Creepypasta just everywhere. Like, to the point where he's, like, just staring at her all the time. It's on the bus, it's everywhere. It's just not good. So after that, I'm pretty sure that she goes back to the house and she gets like sucked in to this memory showing how Keiko, which is the lady's name, how she got killed. Turns out that the guy from there was I am so sorry. So there was this so when the movie starts off, there is a guy played by Bill Pullman who wakes up with his beautiful wife and decides, you know what, now's a good day to jump off the balcony. Yeah, that's an actual scene that happens. He just catapults himself off. We later find out in the movie that it's actually because he kind of knew her. So basically, in this version, somehow he knows the family. Either he's a teacher or something. He knows the kid. He's watching the kid. He finds the journal of Kayako, basically saying that she like was in love with him or something, even though she was married. And Karen later finds out that Taikyo, whatever the dude's name is, the husband, he finds out and he completely loses his shit and is just like, you know what? I'm tired of this. So he kills her, sees the fact that the son, Toshio, saw him kill his mom, so therefore he had to go kill him. And you know what? The cat saw too much, so the cat has to die too. Might have gotten mistaken on that one. It might have been the cat that died first and then the boy. Either way, everyone got murdered. But because of the fact that she died, in such a horrible rage, it created this entity. It like she died with a grudge. She died with the rage, with sorrow. So she became basically a demon, honestly. That's what she was. So after she finds this out, she I guess she tries to go tell some people about it, and they're just like, yeah, well, we can't really do anything about it. So flash forward to the end of the movie where she is trying to call her boyfriend, which I'm thinking his name is escaping my mind. It's like, I think it's Doug. Yeah, it's Doug. Okay, I was gonna say Gary for some reason. So Doug walks into the house because, for whatever reason, I guess he heard his girlfriend talking about it and he wanted to go see a piece of that action. So he gets in there and he realizes that, I guess, stuff is real. And then Karen finds out that he's going in the house and she has to run for it. By the time she gets there, though, things don't really work out. Grudge gets a hold of Doug and it's done for. He starts coming down the steps like he just ran a marathon and just could not go any further. So as Karen is basically holding Doug in her arms, and you know for a fact that means that Doug's probably not going to make it, in comes the biggest scene of the movie. The Grudge quote, crawling down the steps out of the closet where she comes from. She came out of the closet and started walking down the steps, which is weird because apparently the attic is connected to it, so that's even weirder. So the attic goes into the closet, and then she comes out of the closet from the attic. And she starts crawling down the steps like she just took like a 5-hour power nap and her mom told her to come down for dinner and she just can't be bothered. And then you get this beautiful scene. And then next thing you know, she gets Doug. Doug's dead. And then she starts crawling over to Karen, and that's when it goes to black. Then you fast forward to the ending where she's in the hospital and she walks over and sees Doug's body. Or is it Doug? Because apparently, according to this little scene here, technically he's not Doug, he's Kayako. And then that's where the movie ends with the Grudge right behind her, croaking like a frog, teasing a sequel. Now, I'm gonna be honest, I got most of that wrong. I got them out of order, or I got the wrong character doing the wrong thing, but still, this movie is an underappreciated movie. I feel like this movie should be talked about way more. It is really good. Its sequel is even better in my opinion. I will get to that one in a bit. Third movie, not so much. I will also have to get to that one, but that movie was a pile of trash. I did not like it. It was boring. The lady who plays the Grudge isn't even in the movie. Not the same director at all. It just didn't feel right. But it did lead me into a rabbit hole where I started watching a bunch of the original Japanese Grudge movies. And I'm on like the fifth movie, and so far the second movie in that franchise is also one of the best. I'm starting to think that The Grudge 2 is just good in any version, but I'll be putting out videos for that. So hopefully y'all will start getting more uploads afterwards. It's a really, really good movie. I highly recommend if you haven't watched The Grudge, go ahead. I will tell you, however, to take it with a grain of salt because there are some people who don't like the movie, especially since it's based off the original Japanese version. If you go to if you want to watch this movie without any prior knowledge on The Grudge, watch it first because then you get more, scares that way. But if you want to watch it from the perspective of you kind of already know stuff and you want to watch it from the beginning, watch Ju-on the Curse. I think I watched it on YouTube. It's pretty good. It's kind of boring, but it works. But yep, that's about it. Hopefully I will post another video explaining Grudge Part 2 that stars that one girl. I can never remember her name. I think her name is Amber Tamblyn as Karen's sister. Bye.